Animal testing has been a source of controversy for a long time now. I often see animal lovers all over social media advocating the boycott of products tested on animals, including companies like Banana Boat, CoverGirl, Crest, L'Oreal, and Maybelline. I recently came across a video attached to one of these petitions. It was a live demonstration of a girl being experimented on as if she were a rat in a lab. It was a part of a Lush Cosmetics campaign to end animal testing. And this is the video.
A performance artist had everybody dropping their jaws when they saw her latest performance. Jacqueline Trades wanted to show people what animals go through in cosmetics testing labs, so she became the proverbial guinea pig. Check this out. Fair warning, though, it is a little graphic.
We have just witnessed some pretty brutal animal tests being enacted on a human test subject, a young girl called Nicole, who's 23 years old, a vegan and a performance artist. This is an issue that she cares massively about, and I think there's still worse to come.
So every one of our camera guys was like, what the heck? And that's the point. It's the shock value. Jada, why is this so much more amazing to people than seeing actual videos of animals being tested on?
Because, Michelle, as humans, we are visual, and that visual stimulation gets us up in arms, and it makes us pay attention. That's what we do in marketing and advertising all the time, right?
Yeah.
We see that in the messages that are being sent. They're conveying them very accurately. But again, I think another key part to this, Michelle, is that they are they're advocacy. They're using advocacy to prove a point, and
Right.
so kudos to them for being able to capture the attention in this way.
Hunter, Tara, what are you guys thinking? You're awfully quiet about this one.
I think everybody sitting at home right now needs to say thank you, Jacqueline, please, for her to stand up and make this plea to us all to just be aware of what's happening is
Yeah.
very vital to us
Yeah.
all.
Okay, so looking at the comments on the video, it seemed to be hitting people emotionally, and most people tend to agree with the stance that Lush had taken. However, in a recent Gallup poll, it showed that 63% of Americans consider testing on animals morally acceptable, and only 33% thought that it was unacceptable. I researched the implications of both views in order to answer the question, to what extent are the ethical implications of testing on animals outweighed by the scientific benefits? Looking at the Lush demonstration that depicts what the animals go through, it's clear that they have to undergo some pretty harsh treatment. The demonstration allows people to perceive the issue in a different way as they saw what it would be like to be the animals. It appealed to the people's emotions and made them far more sympathetic to the cause. So on the surface, subjecting animals to painful and deadly tests seem ethically wrong, seeing that it's pretty widely accepted that hurting and killing any innocent animals is wrong. However, it's much more complicated than that because the animal testing is used for the benefits of humans. Many people embrace the philosophy that the good intentions and positive results outweigh the negative effects on the animals. Protest is an example of a major organization that advocates animal testing, claiming that they are standing up for science and human progress. This argument has neared as well. Running medical tests on rodents allows scientists to determine if the medicine is effective in a much more efficient and faster way. Furthermore, it ensures that medicines are safe before a human ever tries it. According to the Foundation for Biomedical Research, vaccines for polio, mumps, rubella, and hepatitis were all developed with the help of animal research. Several advancements in treating major diseases have been made. As ethically, animal testing has some definite positive aspects. However, these claims are made under the presumption that human lives are more important than animal ones. But are they really? The purely biological view would tell us no. We're all made up of the same cells and are all creatures of the same earth, and we don't have the authority to say we have any more value than anyone else. This is the belief for some religions as well, like Buddhism, which advocates for the equal treatment of humans and animals. However, most people tend to hold the belief that people are more important. For example, if there was a person and a dog in a burning building and only one could be saved, anyone in their right mind would choose to save the person. As humans, we have an emotional connection to one another, and it is in our nature to believe that we as a species are important. Additionally, we are the most intelligent and civilized species, which could also translate into us being considered the most valuable, depending on your beliefs. Yet, even if we stick to the premise that humans and their lives are more important, the issue of animal values arise. The majority of people would say that they are against animal cruelty, but probably don't care too much about experimenting on rats and don't think twice about stepping on a spider. Yet incidents like Edison's electrocution of the elephant are widely denounced as horrible and cruel. There seems to be a hierarchy of sorts of animals and how much value humans give to them. So, what makes us have these different ideas on the value of life of different species? Admittingly, many of these judgments are based on reasonable premise. Some species just have more biological importance in the animal system than others. For example, the death of a whale would have a greater effect on the balance of the food chain than the death of a plankton. So it makes sense that the life of a whale would be more important. Likewise, we place more value on an endangered species than we do to ones that are not. However, this motion probably has the biggest impact on our different perceptions. Rodents and bugs are considered pests to us, and since we are constantly seeing them as a nuisance, we don't care as much about killing them. Yet animals that we admire, find beautiful, or develop a social attachment to, we tend to be enraged at the idea of exposing them to cruelty. For instance, Americans find it appalling that Koreans eat dog, even though it's not far off from our diet of cows, pigs, and chickens. We develop an emotional attachment to dogs because we keep them as pets. Ultimately, a great deal of this hierarchy in the value of animals stems from their intelligence, because we consider it to be more humane to subject creatures to experimentation if they can't fully understand what's happening to them. However, there's also the counter argument that we can't know for sure how an animal thinks or feels purely from psychology, since we are lacking real evidence of their perception. Also, whether you're a primate with complex social and cognitive skills or a mouse with a brain the size of a peanut, pain is still pain and you're going to feel it. The Animal Care Act of 1966 brought this concept of different animals having different value when it set minimum standards for care, research, and exhibition settings, but it didn't apply to mice, rats, birds, or cold-blooded animals. The law has since been revised to give more protection to more animals, but the fact remains that we consider a life's value depending on who or what it belongs to. A result in this is that 19.5 million of animals die every year in research laboratories, and 87.5% of those are rats and mice. So we arrive back to the question, to what extent are the implications of animal testing outweighed by the scientific benefits? I think in order to consider the question effectively, we need to consider the issues case by case. For one, using animals as in testing for cosmetic industries is not just about ethics, since it results in no scientific benefits whatsoever. Perhaps it might help a company come up with a better mascara or nail polish, but it's simply not worth the torture and death of thousands of mice. According to Lush Cosmetics' anti-cruelty website, there are alternatives to animal testing, which include growing artificial human eyes or skin. They even claim that it results in more accurate results than using actual animals. In this way, there's no real reason why cosmetic companies should do animal tests. As for pure scientific research, the answer is much less straightforward. Animals are often used in biological tests for simple goals of research and learning more about the way a creature and their mind and body work. For instance, the classic rat in a maze experiment puts the rat through a bit of frustration in order for a scientist to observe its intelligence. Now, this is rather harmless, but think about how many frogs and pig fetuses die every year in order to be dissected by kids in their science classroom. I think it's important to challenge ourselves to be infinitely curious, but it's also best if we do so with minimum offense to animals and be as humane as possible in the way we obtain animal specimens and run tests on them. And finally, medical testing. When people get sick, we need to do something about it. And for that reason, I think that when it's done in order to save lives, it's acceptable to sacrifice mice and rats in the name of research. Although there might be alternatives, frankly, animal testing is often the cheapest and quickest way to figure stuff out, even though medical testing can be much crueler than other types, like when they give mice cancer in order to test a cure. Its necessity is much greater in this case. And maybe if we are looking at the world and all of nature as a whole, it's wrong to value one creature over another. But the fact is that when a person gets sick, even the most adamant in animal rights activists won't really care where their treatment comes from. They just want to get better. Ultimately, I think that the ethics in animal testing are all lie in the intentions, why the tests are being done, how the tests are being done, and if there are any feasible alternatives. I think it's a complicated issue. However, I also think that it's naive of anyone to say that it's always right or wrong. In every case, it's a constant struggle to meet every ethical standard, as issues are always changing as different situations arise. And I think that we need to analyze them differently in order to do what's right.